We're back with another prostitute story. Now, I know that I said in the previous videos that I don't really remember the order in which the prostitutes were that I saw, but this one I specifically remembered just because it was in another country. So the first time was in the States, and this time was in Korea. This is my first time going to a place in Korea. Now, I'll tell you about the other times that I attempted to go to a place in Korea, but I wasn't able to, and I'll let you know in that video why that was. So this was my first time I actually was able to go to one in Korea. Now, at that time, I was living in Seoul, and I don't know how long I'd been there, maybe a month, maybe 2 months, not really sure. And I was in Hyundai maybe. I don't really remember how to say it. But anyway, this was the clubbing district of Seoul for university students. And at that time, I was still being university age, whatever. I went there, checked out some places, went to a couple of clubs. Nothing really panned out, so I was starting to look for the brothels. Now in Korea, it's so much easier and so much more prevalent than in the States. Specifically in Seoul, they're everywhere. And especially the capital, Seoul, they were almost on every single block. And on every single block, there were multiples. And there's so many different variations of this. But anyway, this was, so I guess I should probably specify. This was a massage parlor. And it was in a high-rise building, fifth floor maybe. So, like I said, after a night of clubbing and drinking and not being able to get anything, I went to this place after walking around for a bit and searching for the right one. This one looked like it was, I don't know, whatever, it appealed to me for some reason. Excuse me. And then as I went up the stairs, I started ringing the bell, knocking on the door, and there was no answer. So I thought, I guess nobody's here or they're busy, whatever. Then I tried a little bit more. And then I saw somebody at the door. They were slowly opening the door, and I was able to see them, but just barely. It was very dark. And at that time, it was already 2 a.m. So, I guess I had woken her up. At least that's what it seemed like. That's what it felt like. It felt like I woke her up. So she said, yeah, come in. Of course, in limited English. So that time, it was just straight massage parlor. There was no table shower. There was just kind of like a really hard wooden bed. So I laid flat on my stomach. She took off her clothes, only left on her underwear. And from what I could tell, she was young, maybe mid-20s, long hair, very, very skinny. And so I went with it. I said, okay, I couldn't really see her face, but she looked pretty enough, so whatever. And while she was giving me the massage, it was probably the only time that one of the providers got on top of me and was sitting on my ass while she was giving me the massage. Now, I don't remember if the massage was good, whatever the fuck it was great or whatever. But I do remember that during the flip, this was a place that you could specifically only get hand jobs. So there was nothing else on the table. So I said, okay, I took it. And, she took off her bra, but she left her panties on. And same procedure. She starts lubing my dick, lubing her hand, going very slow. No memorable technique or anything. But what I do remember is that she never looked at me. She had her head kind of tilted away from me, which it was just weird to me. At that time I hadn't been with so many prostitutes. I didn't really know the process, but strange nonetheless. So she never really faced me, and she never made direct contact with me. She just kept her head tilted in a different direction. So as she's jerking me off, I start to feel her body. Then eventually I start to feel her up. Now, these tits are hard as fucking rocks. They are hard, like concrete hard. And normally that wouldn't, be an issue, but it was my first time feeling, I guess, fake tits, fake, implants. But these implants were terrible. They were so hard. And the weird part about it was that she was barely an A cup. So I don't know if this bitch had tumors in her titties. I don't know what it was, but they were extremely hard. So I thought that was really weird. So I said, whatever, cement tits. I'll still play with them. I'll still rub the nipple, whatever, but it wasn't that enjoyable. So then I start going for her ass, which was extremely flat, but whatever. Beggars can't be choosers, and it was all right. And then I start to try to put my fingers under her underwear, and I start to try to finger her. But as soon as I would get even close to that area, whether it was from after grabbing her ass or from the front, she would just push my hand away but so after a couple of times of doing that, I just stopped going for it because obviously she wasn't into it or she didn't want to do that, whatever. So then at the end when I actually finally finished, I kind of said thank you, and just got up, put on my clothes, etc., and walked away. And still, she never made eye contact with me or anything like that. Now, after I had left that place, I went home. I thought it was, the whole situation was all right. I mean, I didn't get into any danger. There was no danger, which there will be in other stories. But thankfully this time, no danger. No police, no nothing like that. So it wasn't until a couple of weeks later that I went back to that same place. And something about it just stayed with me and it just bothered me. And then I saw that it was like I said, it was part of a high rise, part of another building. But in that building, there were a lot of transsexual spas. I don't know if there was a club or not, but you could just read it. It said transsexual. And so then that's when it finally dawned on me that, hey, all right, never gave me eye contact. It was extremely dark, so you can't really see. Really flat ass. A-cup tits, or hardly A-cup, that are extremely hard as a rock. So terrible tit job. And never let me even touch her pussy, even above the underwear. And at that time, I had coworkers, and I would tell them, of course, about everything that I was doing. And then it finally dawned on me that, this person was actually a guy. And it was just, it was something that I brushed off, like, hey, whatever, some guy jerked me off, I still finished, I'm a soldier, I'm not going to just quit in the middle of it. But I realized that it really did bother me. It really bothered me for about 2 weeks that I had gone through this experience, and, I wasn't fully consenting to the fact that a guy would do that, because I'm not, I'm not into guys. So it took me a while to actually get over that. I remember that it did bother me for at least 2 weeks. It just sat with me. Something was, I don't know, I felt wrong. I felt dirty. But after I got over that, it was just a really funny story just to be able to tell my friends, like, hey, I fucked up and this is what happened, etc. So that was the first time in Korea, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. And Korea was a place where I really was able to experience a lot of these massage parlors and other types of establishments, just because there's just so many of them. So I'll be sure to bring you a lot more Korean massage parlor stories, but that was the first and the only time that I got jerked off by a guy. So, yeah. See ya.